She stared at it in horror, trying to comprehend why he had handcuffed himself to her. He stepped back, and several feet of chain rattled from the pocket of his coat. He undid the buttons with shaking hands, and Sally's eyes widened with fear as she saw what lay beneath it. "Allahu Akbar," he mumbled. He closed his eyes, his lower lip trembling. "Do exactly as I say, or everyone will die." He nodded at Laura. "You, lock the door, and then get up against the wall with the children." Lambeth Central Communications Command Centre, 11:15 a.m. The Lambeth Central Communications Command Centre was at 109 Lambeth Road, and the 3 numbers were posted in huge white letters to the left of the 4-storey building, a stone's throw from the south bank of the River Thames. Kamran had to show his warrant card to get in, even though he was expected. He took the stairs down to the Special Operations Room, which occupied the entire basement of the building. Sergeant Joe Lumley was waiting for him at the door, holding a mug of coffee. Kamran grinned as he took it. "You read my mind," he said, "and keep them coming." Kamran hadn't specifically asked for Lumley, so was pleasantly surprised to see that the sergeant had been assigned. He was a 20-year veteran of the Met, a former Special Patrol Group officer who was totally calm under pressure. The perfect number 2 on a day when the shit seemed to have well and truly hit the fan. "There's an inspector manning the fort, but I thought I should give you a heads up before you go in," said Lumley. "Good idea," said Kamran. "They're saying Operation Plato, is that right?" 3 hostage situations in play, and an AVR had sight of a suicide vest. They're releasing their demands through social media at the moment, but we haven't made contact with any of the terrorists yet. What time did this kick off? There were tweets and Facebook postings about the first incident from 10:05 onwards, said Lumley. The second incident was at Wandsworth, and social media there kicked off at 10:25. Now we have another in Fulham. I'll put myself next to you in the Gold Command Suite, and because of the nature of the threat, I'll put the MI5 rep there too. 5 are here already? Lumley nodded. Yes, she's in your suite until you decide where to put her. And there's an SAS captain just arrived. He doesn't seem to require a workstation, so at the moment he's just floating around. Fire brigade? Ambulance? Already here. And who's the TFC? The Tactical Firearms Commander was an inspector who was responsible for the 16 armed response vehicles stationed around the capital. Marty Windle. Kamran nodded his approval. Inspector Windle was a safe pair of hands. "Okay, into the lion's den," he said. Lumley pulled open the door and Kamran stepped into the Special Operations Room. It was half the size of a football field, with no windows, just banks of fluorescent lights overhead. It was filled with dozens of pod-like workstations, several of which were already occupied by shirt-sleeved police officers, their tripled screens filed with data and CCTV feeds. To his left were 2 suites, one for himself as Gold Commander, and next to it the Silver Command Suite, where the various commanding officers could hold their own briefings. At the far end of the room, there were 4 pods, each made up of 3 desks in a triangle, all with the same high-backed black ergonomic chairs. To the left was the Diplomatic Protection Group pod, and next to it the pod used by SCO-19, the armed police. The DPG were armed, and SCO-19 could draw on their resources as needed. Marty Windle was at one of the desks and waved an acknowledgement to Kamran. Kamran waved back. The pod in the middle of the group was manned by the Pan-London support staff, who handled outgoing calls to the various units around the capital. At the far right were the pods of the London Ambulance Service and the Fire Brigade. Spaced across the room, there were white supporting pillars a metre or so in diameter, and a dozen or so whiteboards on stands for when a scribbled note was more efficient than the keyboard. Closer to the door, a pod of supervisors looked after the support staff.